Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. 10.1.5 is live, and some things have changed for Balance Druid. I'm going to be giving you the rundown on what I am currently doing to achieve my goals in World of Warcraft PvP, whether it be solo shuffle or ranked 3s. I just got my gladiator mount with these strategies, so they're proven, they're tested, and they're going to work for you, and you're going to know exactly what you need to do. This is going to be the ultimate guide. We're going to be talking about gear, talents, we're going to be talking about gameplay. We're going to be jumping into some live gameplay and showing you what's going on. So the first thing we're going to want to do is look at our talent tree, because there were some significant adjustments in 10.1.5. Nature's Vigil is garbage now. Just do not talent this ever. Innervate when playing with something like a Holy Paladin, which is currently incredibly overtuned, you're not going to need it. You're not going to have to worry about that. And also with Resto Shamans, you're not going to need to worry about Innervate too much. Now, the only healers really that you could consider taking this for something like Solo Shuffle would be something like a Resto Druid or a Discipline Priest. Those seemingly are the only healers right now that really can benefit from this. Instead, what we're going to be taking is Protector of the Pack, which is the bottom one that you can't see under my camera. This is going to store up your damage to increase the healing of your next regrowth, which can get you up to like 120k regrowths. And you're going to notice that the mana change in this patch means that we can spam regrowth a heck of a lot more. We can just sit here and spam regrowth. I've found this to be the most effective to try and assist allies when they're stunned, or when I can get away behind a pillar and start healing myself. This has been very beneficial. Now, my talent tree, which will be linked in the description down below as far as the code, I like running Thrash instead of Rake. The main reason for Thrash is that when you're getting trained by melee DPS, you can go into bear form and you can apply Thrash, which will count as a third dot for Waning Twilight. So I prefer this. This is just a nice little way of getting that. I also am running the new talent, Rising Light and Falling Night, which is going to be 3% damage and healing during the day or 2% versatility at night. And I am not running Improved Sunfire for AoE Sunfire. I don't want my Sunfire to break crowd control. This talent point is really only effective against things like Demonology Warlock or Unholy Death Knight, where you can get like a tab Sunfire onto a bunch of targets and save yourself a GCD and get a little bit of Astral Power generation, which it might have some place, but I really prefer the defense and utility of the other talents at the moment than this kind of like pad fake damage, which doesn't really do a lot. That's the main focus. The other thing you're gonna see is I'm taking 2 points of Ursine Vigor. This is every time you shapeshift into bear, you're gonna get health and armor by 20%. That's a really big boost. Renewal as an emergency heal is always gonna be great. And then on the right side, the biggest change that you're gonna notice here for 10.1.5, or if you're completely new to Balance Druid, is that New Moon is hitting incredibly hard. It is New Moon, Half Moon, and Full Moon are just monster spells. They are doing a rabid amount of damage. They're just absolutely destroying people. I've been having a blast with this. Probably gonna get nerfed soon though, so we might need to keep an eye on that. And again, if you want to stay up to date with changes, make sure to smash the subscribe button so that you're not missing out on those changes and you know what's going on, so you're not playing the wrong talents. But right now, Full Moon is absolutely smashing it. I'm pairing this up with Denizen of the Dream to just try and give me an extra 10% damage on those moon procs or our star surges. I was flipping between Wild Mushroom and Fungal Growth and Denizen, depending on if I really wanted the extra mobility to kite. And this is kind of like solo shuffle depending on what classes you're playing with. If you're playing with a class that doesn't have a snare, you can drop Denizen of the Dream in front of the Fae for Wild Mushroom and Fungal Growth to give yourself a snare to kind of kite around, but it's very limited again in solo shuffle as to the circumstances. I think Denizen overall is going to give you more damage. I'm running Wild Surges instead of Stellar Flare. Again, this is to limit our casting because casting moons is already going to be difficult enough. If we get interrupted on Stellar Flare, it's going to become very bad. Wild Surges just gives us an additional, critical strike chance on our Starfires and our Wrath, giving us a little bit of damage outside of our cooldowns and a chance to apply Astral Smolder for our third dot if we can't use Thrash to get our third dot applied, or Orbital Strike to apply Stellar Flare for our third dot. That's the main tools. One thing I'm not running is Umbral Embrace. I have seen some Balance Druids running around with this, running kind of like big Wrath builds. It's going to be more sustained damage overall, but not give you as much punch and not be as overall threatening. So if you're playing with double caster, I don't think that this build will be better. But if you're playing with a melee DPS where casting Full Moon, getting trained by 2 melee might be more difficult, I could see some place for that. I am not running it in the Full Moon build because when you use this and you try and cast Wrath or Starfire to get into Eclipse to buff up your Full Moon, those spells will be considered astral. And if people happen to kick you on it, you get kicked on everything and you can't do it in your entire setup. So it really just like sets gets your engine back. So if you're going to run Full Moon, I don't recommend running Umbral Embrace. So I say Umbral Blaze, dude. I am exhausted right now. But that's basically it for the talents. You can pretty much copy this, paste it in, and it's going to work out fine for you. Honor talents are pretty auto lock. You're going to be going pretty good at all times with High Winds, Moonkin Aura, and Alkan Adept. These are just pairing together to give us really fast cyclones that also reduce the damage of their target by 6 seconds for 30%. High Winds can situationally be substituted out. Things like Dying Stars can be really effective against Paladins, and this includes Rep Paladins, because a lot of them right now are speccing the Dispel, and when they dispel your dots, they reapply it, and you're doing more damage to them. So it can be situationally really good into Rep Paladins. It can be good into Hunters that are Feign Deathing off our dots. It can be good into healers like Paladins as well, or Priests that are spam dispelling our dots. It can be, situationally used in those. If you're noticing that your dots are getting dispelled a lot, you may want to try Dying Stars in that matchup instead of High Winds. Another one is Thorns. This is typically against double melee DPS, especially if you're playing with the new Augmentation Evoker, because pairing that up with their Scales, which is basically just Thorns, you just destroy melee DPS while they're attacking into it. It's like double stacked Thorns. It's really devastating for double melee DPS to deal with it. You can situationally run Fairy Swarm, and I would suggest that you only really run it against Subtlety Rogue. And this can be good in solo shuffle because sometimes healers aren't fast to dispel it, and you can try and disarm their shadow dances as much as possible instead of High Winds. But again, you can get away with High Winds pretty much in all situations. These are very niche, and I'm barely, if ever, flipping into these, but those are the kind of like instance cases. If I get a lobby with a Ret that's spam dispelling me, I switch Dying Stars, or a Rogue that's cheesing people a lot, I might switch to Fairy Swarm to try and alleviate that. Or if I just want to pad the meter, I run Thorns into double melee to really do a lot of damage. But these are kind of like your core talents, and you're not really going to be fooling around too much with them. I have seen some Starfall and Starburst builds, and that build is, it's linked in my previous video, which I'll have linked at the end of this. If you want to try that build, you can. I'm still not sold on it being better. I think right now with Paladin as strong as they are, AoE healing is a joke for them, and it's just not going to accomplish much. Critting someone for 400k and just destroying them is going to do a lot more in those instances. As far as gearing goes, my gear is probably completely unique to anybody else. I have a mixture of Haste, Mastery, and Verse. I'm still prioritizing Verse. This is because you're going to get attacked pretty much every game, so you're going to get the most value from it. But I do have a bit more Mastery than Haste. The main reason for this is because when you activate Incarnation, you get Haste on top of crit, if I'm not mistaken. You get haste while you're in Eclipse, and you get Star Lord, which is going to give you haste when you Star Surge. So you're already getting kind of a lot of haste just from your talents. So like putting all the haste in Verse and no Mastery doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because you're going to start capping your haste out. Ideally, I think around 17 to 20% baseline is going to feel really good, because it's going to jump you up to above 20 when you have Star Lord, and then even higher than during Incarnation. So this is going to make your clone still feel good. But then having everything else towards Mastery is going to give you a lot of Full Moon damage. Now, if you really want to cheese people, you drop all the haste and you run full Mastery. I'm trying to make a competitive build here with Full Moon, so where like I want to actually once in a while be able to finish the cast, because it's a really long cast. So having some haste is going to do better than that. The embellishments you're going to want to run are Precognition. I have these on my gloves because this is the worst itemized piece of gear for the tier. So I have Precognition on my gloves, and I think Spore Cloak is the most ideal second embellishment, because you're going to get attacked, and this shield saves you a lot. This shield will save you a lot, and the damage increase from the other options is like so minor that this one doesn't really matter. And again, I'm shifting my gear around. I'm still wearing some World PvP gear that I'm going to shift into crafting gear with versatility and mastery. I'm saying ideally you get somewhere around 17% haste, 25% mastery. So, and I'm kind of like adjusting that depending on the sockets and where my current gear is. Some enchants are haste, some enchants are mastery, just to try and get around 17%. So when Star Lord comes up, so you're going to want to pay attention to that. We're running Obsidian Insignia for more haste. If you're running this build and you're not wearing this, your haste will be really low. I'm not wearing Battle Master if almost ever, so don't worry too much. And then you've got the trinket bonus, haste weapon. Thinking about switching this one out for a mastery neck, but at the moment this is kind of the gear that I've been running. Just quickly highlighting over it if you want to pause the video on any of this specifically. But again, ideally it's just trying to hit 17% haste, and then everything else is mastery increasing or verse increasing beyond that point. So that's the gear. These are the talents. You can run Heart of the Wild instead of Protector into Subtlety Rogues. That's something I'll just throw out there as like a last minute caveat here for this portion of the guide, but that's pretty much it. So our main goal, I've got a video here, that I'll be running through for you guys, some kind of live gameplay. This situation has been asked for a lot. This is like double melee DPS that attack you, and what are you supposed to do, right? So with new moon, half moon, and full moon, you want to cast these. These are really hard to cast. So what you need to do is make it really annoying for the enemy to hit you. You're not really going to focus on trying to cast on them. You're going to run really far into corners, pull them into bad positions, use stampede, use sprint, and kite to better locations. We're watching this on 2 times speed. We got to slow this down a little bit, okay? We got to slow. My brain can go fast, but it can't go that fast, okay? We're going back in time. Main goal is to be annoying. Don't let them hit you. Travel form, stampede, typhoon, wild charge, get away. Don't let them hit you. Make it really annoying to hit you so that they stop hitting you. As soon as they stop hitting you, you can start casting your important spells. So we're pulling towards the starting room, dragging them out. We get gripped in. It's going to happen. You want to bark skin in the opener usually when you're getting stunned like this, because it's going to be all of their cooldowns. And then after the bark skin, you can jump away with wild charge. I like stampeding on my wild charge so I can shapeshift, sprint away, try and kite. Here we can see both melee DPS and stun DR, so we're not going to throw our bashes out. And the Death Knight's immune to knockbacks for a moment, so you generally don't want to be typhooning into Death's Advance. I knocked the warrior away, but I think it's just because I wasn't monitoring Death's Advance. Usually want to get a 2-person knock, but we're still kind of getting attacked a lot. You can go into bear form for emergency mode here, and I'm faking a lot of clones, trying to get precognition proc, which honestly I shouldn't be. We're just kind of doing damage, trying to get clones. We get a clone here onto the warrior. This is another way you can play it, is where you're trying to fake interrupts. This is a much harder way of playing it. And then as soon as I've got distance, we survived their opener. This is when I shoot my incarnation. This gets anti-magic zone. We're going to wild charge out of it, jump into bear form, because I know the warrior's going to charge me as soon as I jump, so I want extra armor as soon as they reconnect, so wild charge away and go into bear right away. And then as soon as you have distance, that's when we start casting moons. So you can see I was looking for new moon there. We're looking for clones. We fake the kicks. We get the clones onto the healer. When they're stunned, dump all of our star surges, burst down the target as much as possible. This is going to get Icebound Fortitude, and now we're just going to pull away. Just pull the warrior into a bad spot, pull the target, rather than chasing and running on top of the melee cleave. It's better to kind of just keep maintaining distance, keep pulling away, trying to stand in a safe spot. We get a root solar beam onto the healer, knock the warrior on his leap. This forces him to charge us, and we're moving forward, trying to get a clone here. We fake the interrupts. We get a clone on the preservation. This is where saving your instant starfires rather than just dumping them all the time into damage is important, is if you want to clone, because then you're not going to get the fast cast. We get a paralyze on the healer. We got time dilate on the DK, but we're still attacking into him because he might be touch of death range. Here the warrior intervenes touch of death and doesn't die, and I've never seen that happen before, but he actually successfully did. He intervened touch of death and didn't die. So they've got any magic zone. We're kind of in trouble. We'll bash the DK. We'll wild charge away. Could have gone into bear form there. I'm still kind of doing damage at this point because the Death Knight is so low that I feel like we can actually finish him. Going for the new half moons. In this game, we're not even probably going to get a full moon at the pace that it is going. So this is why I mean, in like this types of matchups, it might actually even be better to run Fury of Elune as opposed to full moon. If you're running double caster though, you would want to run full moon. We get a clone on the warrior. We're chasing the Death Knight a little bit, but a little bit too much. So we're gonna jump into bear form as the warrior charges us, stampede away, knock the warrior away, keep cutting the warrior, keep distance, just let our Windwalker do the work on the Death Knight. We get freedom. We're gonna bash the warrior in a second here, I think. Actually, about 20 seconds. And you can look, I've annoyed him so much that he's got off me, which is great because now I can solar beam the healer. I can cast on the Death Knight. I can cast clones, and it's a lot easier to deal with the game, right, when they're not attacking you. So just making it as annoying as possible until they get off of you, and then taking advantage of that to try and cast spells is going to be the main goal. Here our healer's getting gripped in, so we either want to clone or be in bear form. We clone the warrior, we get his trinket, which is now a key to kill him because we can bash him and CC the healer. So Hammer of Justice and the healer, bash the warrior, trinket ACC, incarn, and drop him dead. You can punish trinkets like that really effectively, knock him out of any magic zone. Keep pressure going, but time dilation is stopping the kill, which is this yellow icon. So we're swapping to the Death Knight for a moment and just kind of cleaving them. Eventually one of them is going to be going down in a matchup like this, and you can see it wasn't ideal. I didn't even get a full moon cast off successfully in this round specifically, but the main goal is to just keep distance. When the warriors can charge you bear, frenzied regen, try and iron fur, put up a thrash in those instances. That's going to really put you into a good spot. I'm curious if I have a game where I actually get a full moon. I think I do in this game. So this game is going to be like a better example of like the ideal situation, I believe. So same type of deal. We want to pull them as far away from the healer as possible, which is going to be this balcony, into the wall, into the corner. So I'm just dotting them as they're moving in, pulling them into the most exposed location so that the healer has to be in the middle of the map. This round, I shoot my incarnation instantly, which is really aggressive. I root solar beam the healer and I wild charge stampede, same type of opener with bark skin on the grip, and I'm just kiting away, getting distance, making it annoying. Look, they got annoyed, they stopped hitting me, but they stopped hitting me, and that means new moon, half moon, full moon, dead. Yeah. So if you actually do get the distance and they stop hitting you, this spell is nasty. You saw that last game where they were turning me. It was really tough. Couldn't get it off. Couldn't do anything. But then this game where they got off me for a moment and I was able to use the spell, just absolutely ran them down and smashed them. So Again, it's up to you in those situations. If you're really struggling in a solo shuffle lobby with a lot of melee DPS, maybe you drop the full moon and you run Fury of Elune instead. Because it's going to be instant cast and give you more instant cast star surges. But when you get these situations, it can be really juicy. It can feel really good. You're most of the time going to be using clone to bait kicks so you can cast full moon when you're getting attacked. That's just a little extra tidbit that I'm going to throw into there. But that's it. All I've got for you guys. We've got the embellishments, we've got the stats, we've got the talents, we've got some gameplay to run you through there. Hope this video has helped you out or helped you understand a little bit better on what you should be doing for your balance druid, or at least what I'm doing for my balance druid, in order to try and find success. If you enjoyed the video, please thumbs it up. Comment down below with your thoughts on balance druid. What have you been seeing? What have you been trying? Because obviously I think that there are going to be more options than this in the future. In terms of play, this is just what I've found to be the most optimal so far. Other than that, thank you once again, and I will see you in the next video.